It is his second coming, in the halls of Congress, that is. But if you expected Democratic firebrand Alan Grayson to tone down his comments now that he's back in D.C., you don't know Grayson.
If you get sick in America, this is what the Republicans want you to do. If you get sick, America, the Republican health care plan is this: die quickly.
Oh, you could sell those signs on eBay. Come on, admit it. You missed this guy.
As I pointed out 3 years ago, their health care plan is don't get sick, and if you do get sick, die quickly. And now we see the same thing true with guns in the wake of a terrible national tragedy. In fact, recurring terrible national tragedies. Their answer is do nothing. They want to instill in us a kind of fatalism and nihilism that means that we can't do anything to solve our problems.
The pride of Florida's 9th District, the one and only Ayatollah of rock and roll, Democratic Congressman Alan Boom Boom Grayson joins me now. Good evening, distinguished representative. Thank you for your time.
Good evening.
It's great to have you back, sir. I speak on behalf of many who are really thrilled to see you back on Capitol Hill. After 2 years off, sir, how does it feel? Has anything changed?
Well, lots changed. The Democrats no longer have the House, and as a result, nobody's doing anything unless you hold a gun to their heads, literally. Yeah. It's remarkable to see the inaction. I just saw that directly in full force. It's been 79 days since Hurricane Sandy before the Republican majority in the House was willing to actually do something to address the problem. 79 days where people can't flush their toilets. 79 days when people are literally living in the dark with candlelight. And it took that long for the Republicans to do anything to help all those people. It's shocking. They just can't get anything done.
Well, you have to understand, sir, those people live in the Northeast and not in actual America. I think that's the rationale.
I think the rationale is what it always is. The Republicans just don't want to do anything for anybody. And there's a mean streak, too, that you only recognize when you're really close up. These are people who want to kick you when you're down.
Well, like you so eloquently described, Republicans' go-to plan for any problem facing the country seems to be, at this point, do nothing. So when you see your GOP colleagues do nothing, now it's on gun control measures, what do you think the odds are that when the next mass shooting happens, God forbid, will they be blamed? Will the GOP once again bow to the NRA pressure, or is this time going to be slightly different?
No, they will bow to the NRA pressure. I'm almost certain of it, because you have to understand the real audience for about 150 members of Congress who are Republicans, most of their caucus, the real audience is those 4 or 5% of humanity that actually vote in Republican primary elections. They don't care what happens in November. They care what happens in June, July, August when they're having their primaries. And it's only a tiny fraction of the public that ends up determining who goes to Congress from all those many Republican districts. That's their audience. The NRA still has veto power over most Republican members of Congress, and they'll kowtow to the NRA.
But, sir, doesn't that mean, if they go ahead and block or filibuster an assault weapons ban or regulations on magazine size, when the next massacre happens, does the House GOP then own it?
It just doesn't matter to them. Look, we live in a country where almost 25 million people can't find full-time work. And the President and the Democratic Party have been trying desperately to do something about this for the past 4 years. And for the past 2 years, the Republicans blocked every effort. The President's job program never even came to a vote in the House of Representatives. It's farcical. They don't want to help people. They don't care. The only way to solve this problem is simply to put them out of power.
Well, in your own state of Florida, Governor Rick Scott has been refusing to accept federal money to help severely disabled children. But it turns out he's willing to use state and local funds to line the pockets of the gun lobby. Of course, Scott gave a $1.6 million tax subsidy to Colt Manufacturing in 2011. Is there any logic behind this?
Well, the logic, I think, is that they believe that the only real problem this country has is that the millionaires and the billionaires just don't have enough money. And if we keep stuffing money into their pockets, somehow everything will just come up roses. That's been their plan from the start. They're pretty explicit about it. There's no form of corporate welfare that Governor Scott's ever been against. But if you talk about actually seeing to it that handicapped children can be home with their families instead of being institutionalized, suddenly there's no money for that at all.
Well, last week, in response to criticism from you and families of disabled children and the U.S. Justice Department, Florida launched a so-called enhanced care program, which would enlist 28 nurse care coordinators to work with the families and the nursing homes treating their disabled children. Is this close to adequate, 28 people for the whole state of Florida?
No, of course not. Look, we have 20 million people in the state of Florida. We have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of children who are dependent upon the state for their care. And the question is, are they going to be in the hands of their loved ones, their family members, the people who care about them the most, or are they going to be institutionalized and treated like, I don't know, packed like sardines into a can? That's the choice that actually is in front of us, and the governor's already indicated he favors the sardine approach.
You know, I'm all in favor of giving criminals a second chance, but Governor of Florida seems a bit much. Do you think the tide is turning and that your constituents are beginning to wake up and realize the character of the man they've put in the governor's office?
You know, it's a tough analogy, but I'll tell you this. In the same way that people in Pakistan are sick and tired of seeing drones in the sky day after day, people in Florida are sick and tired of seeing an unthinking, unfeeling government that's constantly doing nothing but taking pot shots at them, particularly the ones who are most in need. And I think it's going to end. I think people in Florida are waking up. They understand that they're entitled, when they choose our leaders, we are entitled to have leaders who care about us, who want to help us, who want to serve us, not people who just tell us, if you got a problem, you're on your own.
Congressman Alan Grayson of Florida, it's great. Thanks for your time tonight. It's a pleasure to see you back in D.C.
Thank you.
An American